I am the Commissar, that's my name. Forged alliance forever, that's the game. Which of these players have a claim to fame? Today, it's a 1 versus 1, head to head, no holds barred. Straight up, facing off against each other, only one can survive. Well, at most one can survive, but... So, this is a 10k map, generated, so we've never seen it before, we'll never see it again. Let's see who's playing. In the blue corner in the north, this is Terminal. He's 1718 rated, and he's playing UEF. In the red corner in the south, we have ForEveyoun. ForEveyoun? I don't know what that's a reference to, so I'm going to call him Eveyoun. He's 1496 rated, and he's playing Seraphim. Now, that's quite a significant rating difference, just over 200, so the numbers favour Terminal. We'll see whether that turns out to be the case. Quick look at the map. Not much reclaim. Couple of clusters of rocks around here, but nothing big. And there is, however, an awful lot of mass points to pick up. These more scattered areas here, and then these more clustered expansions. So generally, quite a lot of mass to grab. Could be quite a quick expansion. Early labs coming out for harassing both sides from Terminal, which means that he's a little slower on his expansion, and he's got 2 land and 1 air queued up. Meanwhile, Eveyoun has gone for first land, second air, and he is going straight for a bomber out of that air factory. So that could be some good harassment on these engineers if he can get it there. We'll see which of these early raids pays off the more. He's also going for his P-gens after the air factory. I think that's a bit dangerous. How much power has he got? Oh, it's because he's stalling mass hard. I don't like that at all. That said, Terminal is a little better balanced. Looks like Terminal is just planning some standard air shenanigans. Here comes the bomber, followed by a scout from Eveyoun. The labs from Terminal are creeping in the sides. This one definitely may pick up an engineer. Early tank and scout combos also coming out, much less in the way of land aggression out from Terminal. He's just getting his bomber in the air. So we have got the lab shooting up that engineer there and getting the kill. Meanwhile, the bomber also picks up an engineer kill, so we're 1 for 1 so far. That lab stays in position guarding that expansion. Did that actually get a kill? It did. Oh yes, very well done to that bomber. And stopping the factory producing. But meanwhile, this lab has caught up and found the engineer, claiming a kill. Not before it can build that mech, but it's soon going to be hoovered up by that tank, I imagine. There's now an anti-air unit out picking off the bomber, but it might still get this engineer here or something else. The tank is, of course, slower than the lab, but looking over here, so we see that that lab might try and sneak around and do some damage. It could get this engineer. Oh, but no, it turns back and still survives. Meanwhile, the bomber has been called back as well. Raiding army coming out here, significantly bigger than this mere tank and scout combo that Eveyoun has sent out. This bot unfortunately doesn't realise there's an engineer down here and comes across here. Maybe we'll get one of these? It just runs past them. That striker is bombed but not killed by the bomber. Meanwhile though, this is where the real threat is. the lab is eventually picked off. The bomber's still going. Oh, got a hiccup there. And the raiders pick off an engineer. They look set to... Well, here comes ForEveyoun's comm, which should deal with these in short order. But there isn't a great deal to stop this part of the raid. Looks like the bomber's finally been taken out. Probably by those AA tanks. So let's focus in on this better raid. 4 killers so far there, which is pretty nice. That NG is what they want to focus. And they get it, so there's been a lot of damage done by this raid here, and this striker has managed to kill a mechs as well. However, Terminal has come forward to these expansion points here, whereas ForEveyoun has chosen to stay in his base. He's sending out a little raid here, and he has got some tanks positioned up here, but it feels like Terminal's just got the better expansion so far. ForEveyoun just setting up some eco there. He is sending exploratory units out, and he's sent a push of his own in here. It might certainly clear up a couple of mexes. There's a few units wandering around here in dribs and drabs, but we haven't got anything big yet, and I think this is... And we've also got these up here, which could get some damage done, so let's keep an eye on these 2 areas as our main focus. These 2 mexes are dead. These 2 engineers will surely die. There is a little bit of combat, which you can see on the minimap there, but that's not as important as these forces here. This lot have been caught out by a superior force of tanks and quickly die. These ones have stopped, which is a pity, as there's nothing actually against them. They could come in and get a bit of damage done here if they move. Meanwhile, Terminal's brought his comm forward, but draws back when he notices that there's both ForEveyoun's comm and some spam. ForEveyoun's going for T2. I feel I would have gone for gun in that situation, but of course he's got like double my rating, so I'm sure he knows what he's doing. Where is Terminal going for T2 land? Here he is. I think that's our first tech upgrade in terms of units that we've seen commencing on the field. So the engineer here moved forward and ran into these guys, but now they've been spotted, and immediately a force of tanks and scouts comes to clear them up. So that I feel could have been used a little bit more, but there's a push coming up this side here which may bag an engineer or 2. This lot will probably be seen by these boys who are moving to intercept. Still no comm upgrades for Terminal, but he is getting his first T2 engineers out. The engineer dies, but a significant force of land units comes in, and that should be enough to stop these poor fellows in their tracks. This is now a much more interesting force, a larger force pushing in through here from ForEveyoun, while Terminal and all his units are grouped up over here. As well as a smaller force heading up here, so these boys could get some damage done. There is a point defense though, and that's enough to see these units off until this artillery arrives to clean it up, and by that time a decent defensive force will have arrived. Meanwhile, these fellows are put off from their advance by the T2 point defense that ForEveyoun's comm has erected, and it looks like they're going to retreat, but no sooner has an attack been foiled on one side than a new one starts on another side. A force of tanks comes in from Terminal, picks off an engineer, picks off a few mexes. That factory's been left up, and I don't know if that was intentional. I feel that killing off that factory will be quite nice in stopping reconstruction and reinforcement from here. This army has paused, it hasn't yet taken out the PD, and there are units against it. A wall is being built to stop this incursion. It will either send them back up this way and over here. We now have radar here for ForEveyoun, which should give him quite a lot of intel. Let's see what we can see. So that radar is pretty good for ForEveyoun, allowing him to see all of this sort. Terminal can see far less. You can see that thanks to his scout, but he hasn't really got any decent radar coverage other than that granted by his scouts. He's certainly worried about the air threat, though. One of the first T2 units he's brought out here is this T2 anti-air. Meanwhile, this small force does take out the radar, which ForEveyoun should definitely rebuild quickly. It looks like it hasn't really been reacted to by ForEveyoun, and so it could get a little more damage done here than it should. But ForEveyoun is pushing forward with his comm. He's ousted Terminal from this this expansion point here, but Terminal has brought an engineer down and is beginning to grab this expansion point. Meanwhile, Terminal has finally dropped some guys here in this transport and is claiming this area. Now, we all know that a gun comm versus a T2 comm, the gun comm wins. And with his T2 land units on the field behind him, I don't believe that these turrets that ForEveyoun is erecting will be enough to stop Terminal if he pushes in with his comm and with this spam here. Also, it looks like there's a way around the back here, which it seems that Terminal is considering using. And while this may have been walled off, this hasn't been. Now that's a very small gap in between the cliff and the pond, but I think it can be traversed, and these boys look like they're about to traverse it. Nice little formation there. That looks rather pretty, doesn't it? Immediately it's broken as they move forward to assist the comm, who's got the gun upgrade. And we've got missile launchers, mobile missile launchers, trying to take out the PDs before the attack commences. That's rather nice. I see an Ilchevo being transported over here to stop this sort, which is pretty good, as an Ilchevo should be able to do a decent amount of damage against T1 if microed properly, and there's nothing else defending these. And this mass extract, he doesn't want to lose that. It's got half an upgrade invested in it. Oh, but he's gonna lose it anyway. Ooh, this feels painful for ForEveyoun. He's putting up more defences, and he's putting up a TMD here, so the missile launches will not be so effective. Yeah, he's lost 2 of those, and that one is almost dead. So that could hurt his eco. We'll check on ecos in a minute, but we've also got a simultaneous push from Terminal coming down this slope here. It's just a bit of T1 stuff. Oh no, it's not. It's got a few pillars in the back there, and they should be more than enough to clear up this little area. Meanwhile, the Ilchevo has been forgotten, and there's a T2 mechs at risk as these T1 tanks fire upon it. Please, ForEveyoun, move that Ilshi in there. Get something done. ForEveyoun doesn't look happy about this situation and draws back. He's also got units trying to clear this up, but there's enough T2 in there that, as far as I can see, this battle is going to be a lost cause for him. This doesn't feel like a great situation. He has got another force that's run its way past here and has claimed itself a mechs and a factory, but there's 3 pillars out to stop it, and it seems to be as if this force is not enough to stop 3 pillars. It may claim a 3rd mechs, which will be pretty nice. Yep, it's got 3 mechs to its name, but that'll leave quite a lot of reclaim. So ForEveyoun simply hasn't stopped this force, and it's walking straight into his base, where there are T2 mechs ripe for the plucking, and T2 tanks ripe to get their pluck on. T1 point defences are the order of the day for ForEveyoun, as he quickly throws a couple up to defend his base, but these T2 mexes, and this one, he's also got a T1 point defence here. He's taken out one T2 mex. He's a fraction away from claiming another. He claimed that one. He takes out the PD, and yet another T2 mex will be toast. And there's still these two pillars roving around. Up here, no more progress here. It's still just that one factory and 3 mexes, which it looks like are already queued up to be rebuilt from terminal. Meanwhile, ForEveyoun is sending a few reclaim engineers out here. He could do worse, in my opinion, than to drop a factory here and get those mexes. Meanwhile, the T2 point defences are not really a match for a Guncom and that much span. And down indeed it goes. Still one lone unit messing around here. Where's he heading? He's heading around the back. He might get a couple of engineer kills back here. Ah no, there's a T2 point defense to the base now and it cleans it up. But ForEveyoun has already been forced to fall back here, and now it looks like he's being forced to fall back some more. Look at the map control here. I mean, yes, there's 2 Ilshis here, but there's enough pillars there that at worst they're going to get a couple of T1 mexes. And we promised we'd talk about the eco, so let's have a look at the eco. 113 to 98, 115 to 98. So only a lead of around 20 mass per tick. It looks like it should be more, but 20 mass per tick is quite significant. In total mass collected, the 2 teams are actually dead even on 61,000 apiece. And Terminal has actually reclaimed more, so only recently has he started overtaking ForEveyoun in mass. ForEveyoun did have a lot of mexes upgrade. Was that an accident? Do you think he's got a T3 mex here? That's how he's doing so well in mass production. He's actually got a T3 mex in his base there, and he's got another one being assisted on the upgrade. I thought that must have been a mistake, but it wasn't. But ow, look at this. The com backs up. Desperately throwing up T1 point defences to back up the T2 point defences he's put up there, but there's this huge force here with a Guncom to support. However, Terminal's in no hurry. He pulls back to let his com absorb some of the damage and get some shots in, while the mobile missile launchers rain fire down. Missile launchers out coming the other way to return fire. They could do worse than target the missile launchers of Terminal. And another run has come in here. That lot should stop it, but that's a lot of T2 tanks. There was a T2 support factory here, which I think is going to be picked up. Terminal's been evicted from here. Sorry, ForEveyoun's been evicted from here, and Terminal is picking up the mexes and the expansion. This is looking brutal. We're only 20 minutes in, and ForEveyoun is reduced to this tiny corner of the map, and Terminal has all of it. ForEveyoun is under fire. He's trying to go for T3 land upgrade, but he's only 35% of the way there. That's a lot of time before he can start getting any significant T3 firepower on the field. Point defense is going up here. Ilshis and T1 in support running round trying to take care of these scattered raids. Ilshi's still being produced here, but there's just enough T2 here that I don't think they'll be able to really make any headway. Meanwhile, more pillars pushing around here, clearing up this area which we try to expand. There's a T2 mex here, which is almost certain to go down to these guys. These are just engineers, they're just going to die. And this is a walkover. Who submitted this? This is just a walkover. Was it Terminal? Actually, I can tell you. Actually, no, I can't tell you. It might have been Terminal. Let's find out. I say let's find out. I'll check later. Point defense is going up under shields. Another air factory going up. Wonder what his plan is with that. But there's a significant air force as well for Terminal. Terminal has 42 inties compared to ForEveyoun's 2, so Terminal can just do whatever he wants in the air at the moment. And he's got T3 on the field. There's a Titan. I mean, in this situation, what can ForEveyoun do? All of this. Everything the light touches is yours, says Terminal. Well, his. Not sure who he's talking to. Maybe he's talking to that Titan. I can't really add any useful context there, because I believe that's a Lion King reference. I haven't actually watched The Lion King. And this emplacement that these engineers have spent so long setting up is overrun by a horde of pillars. I mean, it's getting stuff done. 4, 5, that's 7 plus 5, that's 12 kills on those guys so far. Make that 13. Okay. Colour me mistaken. I thought that would be enough pillars to take out that emplacement, but it wasn't. However, look at this. Terminal has already come into this little expansion right outside ForEveyoun's base, and he's claimed it and put a factory in it. And he's already got T2 units in coming in to drive back the Thoshi that's coming to defend. And a clink hammer set up. What sort of range have we got on that clink hammer? Well, look at that. Oh no, wait, that's the ACU. Look at that. That is half of the base just entirely within range, including the HQ, which Terminal can see. Does ForEveyoun know it? Well, now he does. He knows there's a clink hammer there. He's got a couple of shields, but he's got a shield, singular. He's building tactical missile defense because he knows there's a lot of missile launchers in there. But it feels like that if correctly targeted, this boy here, this clink hammer, which is getting its shield to protect itself, could do pretty well. First Othium out for ForEveyoun. Oh, 1 Othium and 1 Oshivo against 5 pillars. A couple of those pillars are quite badly damaged. That is a dangerous place to put up a T3 PGen, and an even more dangerous place to start another, because he knows those there. But the comm joins the Othium to help, and with the comm's overcharge, those pillars are not a problem. The Othium barely takes any damage, and we've got 2 more Othiums out onto the field. This is being very heavily assisted, and we've already got a second factory, a support T3 factory, assisting that HQ in producing Othium. So there should be a significant T3 force here, and he's also going T3 air. I wonder what his plan is here. Now we've got some Othiums raiding up here, and they have been able to if not reclaim, then at least return to no man's land these mechs here, but that's a lot of Titans surrounding them, and the Othiums die in short order. A small force has pushed up here, and there isn't really much to stop it, but 2 Ilshis, if well microed, can probably beat this, since that's all artillery, and the Ilshis can just dodge. They're not bad at that. But ForEveyoun probably has his attention scattered quite around the map, and will not have the time to focus on those Ilshis. We'll check back on them in a bit to see how they're doing. Meanwhile, 1 Othium against 6 pillars. The Othium is taking damage. It's got a vet. It's got quite a lot of killers now. But it pulls back and lets this 2-vet Ilshivo take its place. But the Ilshi is also taking significant damage. Good choice of putting a shield there. Those pigeons were soon targeted by this he's got a lot of artillery queued up here. This is not so much a clink hammer as a clink power drill. Terminal thinks about getting an upgrade, but he pauses it. I imagine that he's having oh, look at that. Terminal is horrifically power stored, And this is actually a chance for ForEveyoun to get some work done here. He's getting hits in, those are quite badly damaged, and quite a lot of this stuff has been reclaimed. It looks like Terminal is having second thoughts about setting up an emplacement here, especially as several shielded Zethutharm artilleries are going down right in the middle of ForEveyoun's base, and he's got a lot of overlapping Seraphim shields protecting them. It will take a lot for the shields, for the Clint cameras to make it through those shields. Now, with these scouts patrolling overhead, Terminal knows perfectly well that there's a T3 air factory here for ForEveyoun. He is also on his way to T3 air, but he's a lot farther behind, and as a result he's going for a SAM in order to protect his base from any sneaky strat raids. Meanwhile, reasonably sized forces of Titans and Pillars are patrolling around here, ensuring that there aren't any more bust outs, and he's just setting up a ring encasing ForEveyoun in this tiny corner. But I'm still seeing a lot of T1 mexes over here for Terminal. Look at that, all of these mexes are still T1, and I don't believe he's got a decent amount of T2, but I don't believe he's got a single T3 mex. Whereas ForEveyoun over here, we know he's got at least one T3 mex. In fact, he's got 4. So if we have a quick comparison of the ecos, we see... Okay, I was going to say that I would expect ForEveyoun to be only a bit behind Terminal, but he's 100 behind Terminal. He's 100. How is Terminal not closing this out? Count that. Count that. That is 52 Titans. How can ForEveyoun possibly stop 52 Titans? Well, his plan to stop them is a chicken. He's pumping his entire eco into chicken. All those assisting engineers there are on the chicken. His comm is supporting the eco with the ARAS. Now this little emplacement here, I was surprised by how well it did before, and it's getting itself some Titan kills there, but those Titan kills, even when it's backed up by Otheums, are not going to be enough. This time I'm sure of it. This time I'm sure that all of this just gets wiped. And indeed it does. The Titans push forward. Otheums falling, factories falling, there are T2 point defences. Is this going to be the final blow? The engineers building the chicken start dying. ForEveyoun is trying to reinforce his comms position as tanks push in from the side. Shields go down, factories go down, but the chicken is online and it opens fire. The Titans back up a bit. Could they have focused the chicken down? Maybe. But ForEveyoun has a lot of T2 tanks to deal with on his comm, but he's got T2 point defense backing it up, and that isn't otherwise engaged now the chicken is seeing off these Titans. Chickens have already got 9 Titan kills. Both HQs are still up. All the shields down. Whereas these shields are back up, and we've now got spearheads ready to rain down missile fire. Okay, this is a dangerous move. The chicken's moving out to engage the spearheads and possibly this firebase, and it is planning to head forward, supported by shields. But the Titans are coming in behind it, and as yet we don't have anything more with which to stop those Titans. The chicken is forced to turn around and return to try and deal with these Titans, and some of these mexes are going up in smoke. 2 mexes at T2 down, and a third soon to follow. Not sure what those Otheums are up to, but it's easy to forget a couple of units in the corner. I would have been crushed long ago here, just to be clear. So these Titans hiding in the corner are a nice touch. These Otheums, I'm pretty sure they know they're there. And if not, then that fighter will have revealed them. And the Otheums going there are enough of a threat, and these Titans head north. Still, this is a lot of T3. I don't like that broadsword play. Sure, we have got T3 air now, but it feels like there's enough for ASFs out from ForEveyoun to pick off a couple of lone broadswords without them actually getting anything done. That's a lot of inties, and they might just chew their way through the ASFs by sheer numbers. It all depends on the micro, but as this ASF cloud grows bigger and bigger, this intie cloud becomes less and less relevant. The Titans have fallen back quite a long way, perhaps too far, far enough perhaps that this chicken will be able to come in and threaten this base, and this base does look a bit threatened right now. Or the clint cameras go up. That's it. And the chicken is already on 2 vets. Will it be able to catch this force of Titans though? It's being turned around. It knows that that's where it has to go. You can see those Titans coming. And if one chicken does this much damage, what you gonna do? You're gonna call chicken. I don't know how to turn that into a reference that has something to do with chickens, because it's a chicken doing the busting rather than a chicken being busted. It's got more to bust than just Titans. I think I'm overthinking that. Anyway, if at first you do succeed, even more reason to try again, right? This chicken has now caught these Titans. They've been caught quite badly out of position by this chicken, and this chicken is just getting 3 kills. Second chicken up, and that one's heading out this way because ForEveyoun feels that this chicken more than has this area under control. And I mean, yeah, it does. We checked a second ago and it had 2 vets. It had just got 2 vets. Now it's got 3 vets, and that feels pretty brutal. A bit of Zoe spam coming out here, but there are Percys there. That said, if those were Titans, then the Zoes would just die, but the Percys fire so slowly that if he micros them carefully, he says, as they all die, ForEveyoun might have been able to run around them and keep them alive, but he's obviously and understandably focused elsewhere. Okay, now we have a bit more air trouble. 4 broadswords, backed up by a decent number of ASFs as well as the inties. ForEveyoun needs to be careful, but he's got lightning tanks coming out of his base, flak and lightning tanks, and between them, those should be able to do a decent amount of damage. I'd also be considering putting up a SAM or 2 under my shields. And this chicken has now taken quite significant damage from what are now 5 broadswords, and I'm sure there will be more. This chicken, however, the one that's been racking up all that vet, remains unmolested. The lightning tanks and flak head up to support the chicken. This one hasn't got any veterancy yet, so its regen is limited to say the least. It's dealing with these Percys, albeit slowly, but it's taking quite a few hits from them. Now, I don't think this chicken needs to come this way like ForEveyoun would deal with that. I think that chicken would be much better employed pushing straight in. But the chicken continues forward. Now, Terminal has unsurprisingly fallen back in the face of chickens, but he's massing a significant T3 force, but Titans mainly, but a couple of Percys mixed in for good measure, and the gunships are still there in support, and meanwhile, looks like we've had an air fight, and ForEveyoun has lost it, leaving a small force of ASFs for Terminal being the only air defense, and the lightning tanks, which ForEveyoun sent out to deal with the gunships, have in turn been caught by Percys, leaving only 1 remaining, although backed up by these flak, they look like they're still going to get some damage done on the chicken, on the gunships, but the gunships in turn are getting damage done on the chicken, which is now deep into the red, and I think that chicken's about to go pop. It turns around in circles. It's not really dodging that far very well. But it survives. The gunship drops out of the sky, and it survives. There's now only Titans left behind it, but it's only got 600 hit points left. A couple of Titan hits will do the business. And the business has been done. The chicken falls to the ground defeated. Unsurprisingly, there's another on the way, but it's nowhere near done yet. As for this one has remained somewhat inactive recently, just sort of pootling around up here. But what was 80 or 90% map control is now, I mean, it's still like 75% map control, but it's been knocked back a bit, and now we're looking at an army of units versus a few experimentals. Have we got anything interesting going down? With this air grid, it looks like Terminal's definitely pivoting towards coming at ForEveyoun from the air, in addition to the significant land forces he's building up. Whereas it looks to me like ForEveyoun is still stuck on just the one T3 air factory. He's assisting it a bit, but he'll need more than that in order to be able to stop all those broadswords. And let alone, in fact, we need more than that to be able to just not die to that horde of ASFs, let alone stop the broadswords. That said, if those ASFs aren't guarding the broadswords, as they aren't, he might well get some work done with them. And I don't know if Terminal's noticed, because his ASFs are just sort of pootling around here doing nothing while his broadswords are eaten up by ForEveyoun's ASFs. Now, on the one hand, ForEveyoun has pushed Terminal back from quite a lot of this, but on the other hand, Terminal has been upgrading his eco quite significantly, and I'm seeing a lot of T3 mexes. A quick check-in on the eco shows that Terminal has more than double ForEveyoun's eco, a lead of 260. That's mad. How has he not just walked straight over ForEveyoun yet? Like, build a fat boy, build two fat boys, and just creep in. Can he? If he's got a bunch of Titans and Perseus in defense, then the chickens won't be able to stop that. A strat snipe would also work, given that he's got air dominance and there's only one coming to pick off. I mean, he must know what's going on. Okay, he doesn't actually have radar coverage of this space, and all he knows is that just another chicken's popped out here suddenly. And the line of chickens is back up and under construction for ForEveyoun. This hero chicken, having got itself its fourth vet, is finally down into the yellow. But unfortunately for ForEveyoun, he doesn't have sufficient ASFs to be able to take out this broadsword, and so I think that chicken is slowly going to be tickled to death. More broadswords join the fun. But there's a second chicken ready. Third chicken is about to be finished. I'm expecting that chicken to come up here and try and deal with these, and indeed it does. With 66,000 mass killed and 5 vets, this hero chicken continues its one robot crusade against Terminal. Terminal, meanwhile, has been getting something on his comm, and we're about to find out what it is. He's been getting Tech 3. What's his plan? Shields and lightning tanks and a lot of flak, and this chicken is retreating towards them. Bring them in, and I think that he might be able to save this chicken. Indeed, one of the gunships goes down. The second is not long for this world either, and Hero Chicken survives to tell the story, or at least to fight another day. Now we see what this T3 for. He's going for tactical missile, and if we're lucky, we might even see him going for fast Billy with that T3 reload. But he's got a chicken bearing down on him. Meanwhile, this chicken is just guarding. This chicken is pushing. The eco is still horrifically, still more than 2-1 in favour of Terminal, but Terminal is simply not able to get anything to stop this chicken. He's got a few land units. Nice, the chicken kills those. He's got a few broadswords. Nice, this vast horde of flak and lightning kills those. The chicken does feel the need to pull back a bit, but only in order for this second chicken to come up. But ForEveyoun is going for the Billy. A Billy hit won't kill a chicken, but it'll hurt it quite significantly, and in combination with this heap of Percys and Titans. Meanwhile, the flak's been forced back over here, so a large number of broadswords, that looks like 12, descend upon this chicken and start carving through its hit points. But this bird is going slow. I don't think with this chicken and this chicken to come to that bearing down on him, that Terminal can afford to finish that tactical nuke. And this is obviously where all the action is. I see a few T1 bombers in the back there from and it looks like Terminal might be about to row. Sure, one chicken's gone down, but there's still that other chicken coming up. The broadswords chase down the hero chicken. But it's not enough. The chicken catches Terminal, and despite his 2-1 eco advantage, despite having held 80% of the map, Terminal has been defeated by ForEveyoun in 41 minutes. Whoa, did you see that comeback coming? Tell me in the comments below. I will, of course, assert that you probably saw it coming, because I do love to cast a good comeback, but I hope you enjoyed that anyway. As always, I invite you to go down and press those buttons to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar, and I will see you next time.